Hi guys, Mr. Jaeger here, and welcome. Welcome back to Invictus launch week, but not quite the Invictus we were expecting. No, today we are in Drake Defense Con. Now, for those who don't know, Drake Interplanetary isn't exactly on the goody two-shoes list in terms of lore. Quite famously, in fact, one of the CEOs, now former CEO, was recorded talking to her members of management below her, basically illustrating that she didn't care who bought the ships from Drake, so long as they bought them. Which, of course, having a reputation for selling stuff to pirates and bandits and known insurrectionists can have a bit of a dampener on the public image. So Drake Defense Con is in the Drake Interplanetary, who wasn't invited, shockingly, to the Invictus launch week. Drake Defense Con is basically a minor jab at the UEE, while also trying to promote an image of public safety and care and attention, and all of that wonderful stuff. We'll go with stuff. So today we are going to be having a look at all of the things Drake, and I'm not going to lie, having seen the trailers and just seen how much the bloody thing that we all are going to talk about later on in this episode is, oh, hello. Oh, nice, they've got the subtle, but no, they've got the, they have the display for their Traveler, as well as their very pleasant. Actually, I might grab something like that, because Drake, they've got some good. This edition of Drake Interplanetary, I do like. The yellow and orange is fun and all. I really want that IRL. Wait, is that just a pamphlet? Oh, I thought it was a box like this. That's cool, though. I would pay for something like that. That is pretty cool. But no, the real reason why we are here is the ships. And if I don't make me... Yeah, I think they're the same layout as no, I think the layout is slightly different. I want to say it's slightly different. I mean, to be fair, there's not a huge amount of change in the Drake Interplanetary roster. I don't think there's been any... Well, with the exception of, like, a couple of things. This year, I do not know if there's been a release for Drake Interplanetary. Which is... To be... Yeah, so this particular event is designed, as I said, a little bit of a jab at the UEE from Drake Interplanetary, but there's also to highlight the fact that there is a number of vessels that Drake Interplanetary can help defend you and protect your part of the world, as also be a goody two-shoes, because look, law enforcement, we've got law enforcement, we're all good guys now, please like us, sort of thing. But today we are exploring a variety of different ships, both some of them being military and some of them being, little old civilian. One of these absolute beauties as well, which I'm very much looking forward to talking about. But first things first, let us get started on, you know what, let's get started on where it all went wrong for them. Yes, we'll get started on this. So, without further ado, let us celebrate Drake Interplanetary in their very well shabbily done, clearly not a hanger shut up hallway. I mean, this is Drake Interplanetary in a nutshell. A couple of carpets, a couple of drapes, and one hanger door, which is very carefully obscured by shadow. Come on, you know it's Drake and you know you love it. We begin our journey with Drake Interplanetary with the Cutlass Black. One of the more famous ship designs to come out of Star Citizen, and probably, in many people's eyes, the first ship they think of when you think in Drake Interplanetary. And I can't exactly blame them for it. The design is simple, yet refined to a annoying level of usability. And when I say that is, a lot of things you can do in Star Citizen can be done with the Cutlass Black. It's a step up in terms of count of your ship pricing. So let's say, for example, you're new to Star Citizen and I'll give you a series of questions that you'll want to answer, and that this ship will answer, annoyingly, again. So, you're new to Star Citizen, you want to make a bit of a step up, and you want a ship that has its own interior cargo bay that's a bit bigger than most ships, but still relatively small and maneuverable. Cutlass Black on multiple answers on that one. Hey, I want to introduce my friends to Star Citizen, and I'm not going for a major big budget ship, but I want to play in my ship that we can both hop into and shoot up some bad guys whilst having fun. Cutlass Black, it's got a turret, and it can do quite a fair amount of damage, whilst also being still very maneuverable. Hey, Star Citizen, I am a semi-legal person who wants to do some dubious activities with this Cutlass Black over by those rather dashing fellows over there. And I need a ship to put all of my legally obtained objects. Then the Cutlass Black has also got you sorted. Hey, I'm a miner who's got a ROC from Greycat, and I need to Cutlass Black. Hey, I want to fly in Atmo and Cutlass Black. Hey, I want to be able to see out the Cutlass Black. It's literally answering so many motherfucking questions, and it irritates the shit out of me, because it just does that. It just answers those questions, and I can't help but go, you want a Cutlass Black at some point. It's the ship to have, and it's irritatingly viable and useful. I mean, in terms of weapons, you've got a few size 2s on the front there, and a few size 2. You've got 2 size 2 Panther repeaters on that. And you also have a couple of size 2 Mantis repeaters, which is extremely useful. So you've got a nicer cross section. You've also got 8 size 2 Tempest 2 missiles and 8 size 3 Arrestor 3 missiles. So in terms of missile usage, this particular weapon's complement means that this particular ship is bloody useful. Like, seriously, it has the ability to shoot out, dodge about, and can traverse quite quickly in Atmo. Now, its viability in combat may now have changed a bit since... Oh, and don't forget, you've got the 2 size 2 repeaters on the turret as well. So, the amount of viability when it comes to what this ship can do, as well as how irritating it is, because I can't really fault it. And the reason why I get irritated is because with many ships, there's some universal flaw that makes them, that balances them out. But when it comes to the Cutlass Black, I'm very hard, you'll be hard pressed to find that particular flaw. Now, maybe sometime down the line, when armor values start becoming a thing, and Drake Interplanetary gets the reputation it bloody deserves for having not much on the armor front, it means that until then, this ship is just that useful, and it's relatively cheap cost in terms of both IRL and in-game, means that anyone who wants to get a pretty good ship for their money's worth, the Cutlass Black is the answer for that. Speaking about money's worth, we probably want to go in a completely opposite direction with this one, because this is the Cutlass Steel. Now, the Cutlass Steel is... well, to put it bluntly, it was probably a poor choice made by CIG for some unknown reason. I don't know why. Okay, so to explain the purpose of this ship, this is a dedicated military transport. It has a number of additional fire options. So on the back of the Cutlass Black, for example, which I actually forgot to mention, so let's go quickly back over to there to reiterate that. On the back of the ship, you also have a tractor beam, which is a very useful piece of kit. He says as he finds that there is no tractor beam. I thought there was a tractor beam back here. Oh, have they removed it? There's the mounting for it, so unless you... Yeah, tractor module access. So it's something that you might have to purchase. Bearing in mind this is the showroom floor edition, so that might be not visually on there. But there is the tractor beam option up there, so maybe that's something you have to purchase separately. We don't know. But what I can say is that the tractor beam is on the back there, which of course on the Cutlass Steel is not there, and instead is replaced by 2 size 1 laser repeaters on a remote activated turret. So what's the difference between the Cutlass Steel and the Cutlass Black? Well, the Cutlass Steel, as mentioned, is a dedicated transport vessel. If you're wanting quite a few people, I'd say a platoon's worth of troops getting into this entire ship, it is a viable ship for that level, and you've got a couple of size 1 Mantis ballistic repeaters on the side and on the rear. So if you're going into a hot zone, this ship is in fact quite good for what it's worth, and it still retains the optimal size and space to be able to be managed and everything else, which is pretty cool for that one. In terms of weapons and armaments, it still has the size 2 missile spam, so that's completely fine. And as mentioned, it's still got the Panther repeater, so the size 3, actually, I should say. There's 2 size 3 turrets on the top there, not size 2s. And weapon-wise, it's still got the same size 2 laser repeaters and everything else. So really, it was just a glorified transportation device, which, okay, fair enough. That's not really useful, but at the same time, okay. But the problem is they charged an exorbitant amount for it. Like, the price of it when it was announced, and, you know, all that jazz. Bearing in mind, let's go back to the price of the Cutlass Black, which may have changed its price a little bit since it was announced and launched and released. But its price at the time, or at the moment, was $110 standalone, which is pretty reasonable considering. Like, if you wanted to get into the game, 110 quid for, you know, for a good ship that will last you for quite a while, or something to upgrade to as well. Don't forget, you can still upgrade CCU and all that jazz. That's a pretty good price. The price of the Cutlass Steel, though, is around £235. And I have to admit, now looking back on it, I think, Jesus Christ, they were ahead of their time. Their prices were unheard of. That was a really terrible decision to make. Not just on... No, but as I said, not shitting too... I'm not really going to shit too hard on that because, well, the community took a very righteous the fuck when it came to this particular ship design. And to be fair, the other comment was more to do with Tarkov than anything else. My God, he's evolving. Who would wear that? Anyway. Sorry, there's a particular NPC who I've often seen around IAE and in Invictus launch week, who reminds me of that asshole from Skyrim who goes, "You don't get to the Cloud District often, do you?" Oh, what am I saying? Of course you don't. I wanted to slap him every time I saw him. Anyway, aside of personal grudges, this ship, when it was announced, did not do well. A lot of people thought it was a joke at first, like an April Fool's. Turned out it wasn't. Oops. And then it promptly kind of... Well, I wouldn't say it fell flat, but I don't think it's done as well, nearly as well as its other counterpart. And I think maybe in the future, as time goes by, there may become a need for this. Like, if you can get this in-game and potentially do some combat missions and everything else, and it's a really cheap, finger quote, in-game value, then yeah, this will be a good choice for that. But not in its current money form. No. No. As we're making our way down the Cutlass lane, we are presented with 3 rather adorable little ground vehicles, which I hope to have much hours spent in terms of use. These are the Drake Mules. Now, at the moment, they have not got much use, as sadly, the need to unload and load cargo is not quite really amongst us yet. But... in this patch, we have the cargo update, and very soon we shall endure a monstrous amount of cargo hauling and maneuvering and loading. I am the true epitome of sad git. Yes, the Drake Mule is a dedicated cargo ground mover, basically a forklift truck with 6 wheels, having the ability to add, as you can see, multiple cargo hauling, multiple cargo slots, in addition to a little tiny cargo slot in here. This is adorable. But no, I'm imagining this particular ship / vehicle will be utilized by quite a fair amount of players when the cargo hauling side of this game really starts to take hold. Now, again, I am probably in the niche community here, so if any one of you guys watch this video, put a comment section going, "Ayo!" because, yeah, this is something that interests me, is doing logi. It's not like my bread and butter, I live and die for this sort of thing, but my brain does go into the dopamine effects when someone mentions to me, cargo, loading your ship through the hangar bay, spending time organizing the inventories of things. My brain just sort of goes, oh my god, that sounds amazing. So yeah, no, I'm this in conjunction with the NPUVs from Argo. This sounds so amazing. Anyway, so aside of that, this particular vehicle is one of those ground Vics that Drake Interplanetary are utilizing all across Stanton and probably the UEE, and that's kind of how they're able to probably fill their coffers alongside a few other semi-legal things. Speaking about semi-legal things, let us talk about this ship, the Cutlass Red, which, to be fair, I think is probably going to enjoy a bit of a revival, considering the fact that this ship has the capacity to now revive people again. So this ship, actually, when it came out, was the first ship that allowed players to respawn from death in combat. So if you were to so when this ship first came out, it was awesome. When you were playing part of clan operations, or if you were doing King of the Hill stuff, or if you were just shit at the game, you were able to interact with the little buttons on the side. You didn't have a display like this. You didn't have it like back in my day. We didn't have any fancy displays like this touchscreen. You had to press a button, and if the button flashed the right color, you set your spawn, and you could die and never have to worry about spawning back at your favorite base. It were lovely. No, but so basically, the Cutlass Red trades its standard cargo affair for a tiny little not-so-much cargo space, and instead you have 2 Tier 3 beds that allows you to heal Tier 3 wounds, and it is basically a glorified ambulance. But the benefit is that you have 2 docking collars on the side, and you have external cargo lockers, which allows players to interact with this thing. So if they're on a mission, or you've got someone who likes to rescue people and they have a particular thing to it, they can access the cargo slots into here and survive and thrive and all that wonderful jazz. And again, as now we have the ability to, for either temporary or permanent, depending on how things are, be able to revive players inside these particular zones, you now can utilize these in either combat ops or in other elements. I am, to be absolutely brutal, neither a hater nor a lover of this thing. I think it's going to be useful. I think, given the fact that at some points you have some bad luck in Star Citizen and it takes a motherfucking age to get back into it, this adds that kind of slight... Like, it's not so much a crutch that makes it impossible for anyone to do anything, but at the same time, it does give you a bit of a, so at the same time, it can, I don't know, like, I think it's a good thing. I think it's overall a good thing for the time being. Eventually, we probably would need to stop having this ability once things like the medevac from the Apollo series comes through, or if certain new features like Death of a Spaceman really start to take hold. It doesn't really make any sense that you can suddenly respawn on this side. But at the end of the day, this is a game. We want to have fun, and if you want to really take it seriously, then as soon as one of our people die, you should have to fill out 3 reports on someone's death. You have to fill out a report on that fucking thing as well. That's like a phasmic shift. But then you have to like arrange the funeral, then you have to like notify the banks and everything of their death, then you have to do the executives will, and then you get what I mean. Like, there's a level of realism that, while we appreciate there needs to be realism in a game to make it authentic and accurate, there are certain things that maybe you can put in that are less strenuous on that. So feel free to debate with us in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on the respawning capabilities, whether or not you like this or you think that this shouldn't be a thing. But I say I'm slightly positive towards it, but I'm not like, oh my god, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Anyway, going on to the next finger quote legal ship is the Cutlass Blue. Now, unlike the Cutlass Black, and I think this ship was designed not too long after the whole debacle of the boss of Drake Interplanetary, the Cutlass Blue is an advocacy variant of the ship, which allows people to potentially ensure prisoners do not get away. So let's make our way to the back of the ship and get the look at the armaments whilst I'm making my way. So unlike, for example, the Cutlass Black or the Red, having the ability to either have cargo or save people, this variant will have the ability to transport multiple prisoners. So, as you've seen in certain imagery, this is what some of the prisoner slots will look like. So if someone has surrendered, they need to go to prison, or they're being transported to prison, this thing will be their port of call, and this will then go to the habitation cockpit thing. So you got pilot and crew onto this one. Unlike the Cutlass Red, which actually just has a toilet inside, this one has the turret, not too dissimilar. Though the armament for the Cutlass Blue is slightly different. We are going to hop into this one because I'm fairly certain we've already been into a Cutlass Black, and anyone who knows this game knows what a Cutlass interior looks like. Whereas this one is the rare exception that you actually have a completely unblocked view of the ship, which is pretty nice. The other thing you have in terms of weapons is you've got, the new, or the DRXJ3 repeater, which is basically shield fucker. I'm just going to do that. Is a shield fucker. It's designed to stop shields, to reduce them, and be able to fly off and ensure that people will not be able to get away. Speaking of not getting away, this also has a quantum dampener. So what does quantum dampener mean? It basically acts like... what's the right term? I'm trying to think of something from Eve, because that's effectively what it does. Basically, what it does is it projects a field aura that prevents people from being able to use their quantum drive to get away, in all essence. And as a result, this particular vessel is designed to stop criminals from escaping, and it has the ability to force them to surrender, which is wonderful. But again, I've not seen this vessel out too much. Quantum dampening and other jazz is not as common as you may think, and if you wanted to stop someone quantuming, you get a Mantis. So I don't know whether or not this is going to be the this would be the ultimate, penultimate sort of things. But if you're in a low-budget police force, Drake's got you covered. Just make sure that they might also have the other people covered as well. Just saying. As we approach the end of the first line, we are greeted with a very different ship than the ones we've just been looking at. As while the vessels we've been looking at so far have either been designed to obtain cargo both legally and potentially legally, we actually look at a ship which is designed to transport said legal or illegally gained cargo. But also, this particular ship may have a future not just in cargo. This is, of course, the Drake Caterpillar. Quite a famous ship, actually, and she's been in the game for quite some time. In fact, she was, at one point, one of the largest cargo-hauling ships in the game. And, yes, these are, in fact, parking sensors, which... to be fair, I think one person just told me, like, yeah, the thing I love about these things is you've parked when you've smashed these things off. That's the Drake parking sensor for you. Is it still on the ship? No, you've parked. But anyway, this particular ship's design is quite unique, given the fact that it is split up into numerous modules. And it is also attached with a command module, which I'll go into a little bit later on, but as you can see, it is a detachable thing, or potentially detachable thing. But she also has a bit of teeth, this girl. She was, as I said, she's a transport girl, but she is a bit, she transports, but she also bites with two size, I want to say size 4. These might be size 4, size 5. Well, these ones are the Rhino. No, they're definitely the Rhino, so I'm thinking it's size 4. So two size 4 turrets is pretty menacing, to say the least. Now, if memory serves correctly, it is somewhere... Ah, yes, it's over here. One of those weird little things here. So we just pop ourselves over into here, and we have a little bit of a look around. So yeah, this particular ship has been in the service of Star Citizen for quite some time, and if you're an old cargo hauler, this may have been your ultimate prize for a time, as said, because, 576 worth of cargo, you can actually make quite a profit on that. But obviously, as time has gone by, larger ships have come along and have taken the spotlight pedigree, which if we go towards here, because I can now use the map to navigate. This is the thing. This is how futuristic we are right now. But I'm going to now introduce you to the main reason why this ship is quite famous, because each one of these cargo module sections is its own unique sort of point to it. And eventually, as time goes by, with modularity now finally being introduced with such ships as the Retaliator, the Caterpillar is also another one of these ships that has modularity. As you can see, the doors can be opened on both sides, making it easier to introduce cargo. Their cargo bays are exactly the same each time you go into them, meaning that you can basically organize your cargo hauling capabilities fairly well. But also in the future, when modularity starts to become a lot more viable a feature, you'll be able to start seeing some major differences with the caterpillars. In fact, there's a video out there which currently has a number of sort of what-if options done in a Blender environment. And I personally like what that particular future holds, because with modularity now becoming more and more of a potential future, ships like the Caterpillar, which previously have kind of fallen away from the limelight, have now had the chance to come back into it with their own unique form of gameplay, which I personally think is a good... Okay, that gave me a fucking heart attack. I was fucking praising you, you stupid fuck. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so we have docking collar, which I don't know if it works. I don't think it does. We just have a ladder that goes to nowhere. One day. Again, the gold standard pass. I mean, this is the ship that is currently on... Well, this is currently the showroom edition of the ship, which makes me wonder if the ships are always like slightly glitched in that regard. But anyway, moving along into the upper sections of the ship. This particular ship is a bit of a maze, so if you're not too familiar with it, you will get lost. I'm gonna say it now. You can get lost. But the map does make it a lot easier. So one of the other cool things about this ship is it actually has a couple of tractor beams, which now you can actually activate through this little doohickey here, and there's an actual tractor beam underneath this wing, which gives you a very nice view as well. So if you're wanting to travel the verse and you're wanting to have a nice little romantic side corner bit, then this is it, which I can't believe that is actually a thing, but hey-ho, someone may actually share an intimate moment there right before the window fails because the duct tape failed as well. But, you know, it's Drake, whatever. They knew the risks when they got on the ship. So this is the command module access, and you may notice there's a bit of a giant separating thing, because as mentioned, this is its own separate section of the vessel. And with the announcement of the very awesome thing that we'll be talking about in a minute, you'll find that this particular ship may in fact have a very nice looking future, as the option to separate this module will actually now be a confirmed thing. Let me just pop over the other side. So now this particular section will be its own version of the ship. Now, obviously, it's not really intended to be the go-to option, but it now is an option should the shit hit the fan. If we want to hop into this little down bit here, we'll have a look-see. So there you go. So as you can see, usual attire and everything. So it's its own separate command section. Though, unfortunately, this is only meant for, like, 2 members of the crew. So if you're wanting to sort of survive on this thing for a while and you're on the main section when the command section comes off, you may be kashknackered. Just a bit. So, there you go. Now let's just return out of this vessel. But still, there is an opportunity for you to get off the ship should the shit hit the fan. In fact, famously enough, one of this particular command section malark actually occurred when a pirate decided to ram this ship into a yacht full of rich people. And when the authorities inevitably catched up and started to say, "Oi, do you want to surrender? We've got you surrounded," the pirates simply took all of their rather ill-gotten gains, all hold it into the command module, and then separated the command module with the terms of, if you want to save the people from the asteroid field that you're about to fly, that this particular adrift yacht is now flying into, then by all means, or you can come catch us. It's your choice. And the command module flew away because the authorities did the right thing and saved all the people. Unfortunately, this also started to cement Drake Interplanetary's reputation as pirates, which obviously leads to where we are standing at this moment. So, good on you, Caterpillar. You almost were legal, but we went back to the normal again. Well done, Drake. Well done. We move from the big cargo to the dinky ship with the adorable-looking size ones, but also one of the ships that I know for a fact I would have gotten had I gotten into Star Citizen a little bit more recently. This is the Drake Cutter, a very, very good choice for anyone who wants to get into Star Citizen in the cheaper sense. This particular vessel is a simple starter ship, or starting ship, I should say. It's got its own little cargo bay with 2 SCUs, or 4 if you put the boxes up. And it even has its own living compartment. It even has a toilet, which actually puts it up one bigger than the Drake Interplanetary, the Avenger Titan. Oh, I think the server might be having a moment because the doors aren't opening. This is the thing with the new with 323 is that previously we would have had a 30k by now, but now we are having a 30k and I can still move around and talk, which is awesome. But in here is a toiletries, basin, and everything else like so. But you also have a storage medium, which is located here. At the moment, it's not going to let us do that, but you still can access the storage as well as weapon racks. And if we go into here, we have life support, and there's an actual dedicated weapon racks with a bunch of other doodads as well. If we open this little doodad up as well, this opens up, and woof, all the things are over here as well. Does that mean if we open this door now, the doors will open properly, or is it just glitched? No, some fucker locked it. That's why. Oh, you sneaky devil, you. They actually... Yeah, someone actually locked it. I didn't realize until just now, but someone's actually locked it from the inside. Well fucking done, you stupid idiot. Well, anyway. So, yes, you can actually lock the toilet, which I didn't realize. Oh, my God. So there's me praising 323 for being stable, and it turns out, no, in actual fact, some idiots locked themselves in the toilet. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, Star Citizen never changed. Anyway, so this particular ship has a really good, a good number of options to start with, and is easily the better choice out of the Aurora and the Mustang. Now, where is its downsides? Well, it's a smallish ship with not much firepower. In fact, it's only got a couple of size 1s and a couple of missiles, if I'm not mistaken. Though, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure if it even has the missiles, because just memory is not serving me quite well. Oh, no, it does. It actually does have it has 4 size 1 missiles. That's it. So, 4 size 1 missiles inside this thing. This is not designed as a combat-capable ship, but here's actually something that is cool. There's actually a button here which you can deploy, and it puts up these armored slats, which doesn't show up at the moment, which is wonderful. So there's a bunch of armored slats, which if we hop into this little thing over here, there you go, to canopy armor. But I think it's because it's the showroom edition, we're just going to go with it not working for this edition. But you can actually deploy the canopy armor, which makes the armor go along this little section here, which restricts your view, but obviously it's designed to protect you. It also passes the MFD test, which is all hilarious, and it has its perfectly Drake interplanetary connection system, which is hilarious. But the big thing at the moment here is you can see it's got some pretty decent equipment, a pretty decent view, and as a starter ship goes, it does a pretty good, or starting ship goes, it does a very good job. It answers a lot of the questions that any new player to Star Citizen would need to have. And again, if you're a fan of Star Citizen, or if you're new to Star Citizen, you want to sort of see all of the... to have a good starting element towards it, this particular ship is a good choice. It allows you to do quite a bit, whilst also, there's leaving you room for more, but it gives you the opportunity to do a few box missions and maybe sort of start your way up when it comes to sort of building yourself in the verse, which I think is a very important thing, especially since when it comes to what will happen in the future, this particular vessel may in fact become the bog standard for many new starter ships out there. Now, intriguingly enough, CIG decided that this version did not only wanted one but 2 variants as well. This one being the Cutter... What's this one? The Cutter Scout. So this one has the ability to do some reconnaissance, which... Yeah, covert special intelligence operations, which I'm kind of impressed considering this is a... Oh, they've added a spoiler. So that's what makes this thing special. Okay, so this particular version of the ship doesn't have so much of a cargo bay, and the door's more centralized, with an engineering station. So this is something which you want to have for Chimera communications. And here's the toilet slash shit shower that you can have, and obviously can help you on long-distance reconnaissance operations. But in terms of everything else, it's more or less the same. Nothing too fancy. Just if you're a sole operator wanting to do some reconnaissance in combat or anything else like that, there you go. You have the ability to do so, which fair enough. I mean, there's I think there's like some kind of radar selection device at the top there. Let me just quickly pop over to ye old Google. But we'll be getting over to the Rambler in a second, because that thing is ridiculous when I'm looking from it from the outside. But no, on top of the ship is a sort of dish slash thing. You can see it on the top there. This is basically a dedicated communications hub, which allows players to, which will allow players to establish long distance communication. So if you're a fan of the, what's this? Oh, nice. Okay. So if you're a fan of getting data from like certain scouting missions, or if you're wanting to sort of explore certain zones, or you're pushing your reconnaissance for your org and you want to get in and out relatively quickly, this is the ship for you. Again, nothing too fancy, but it just does the job, which, fair enough. I mean, it has a better scanning device, and yeah, but there's nothing too different from that. I'm not personally a hater on this thing. I just feel like for what kind of role I want to play in Star Citizen, I don't feel scouting is my particular cup of tea. But at the same time, can't deny it is a thing. Anyway, going over to this thing. This must be the Rambler. Yes, it is. So their answer, how I had to say, kind of Rambler building on the original. Rambler preserves 2 SCU, or preserves the full 2 SCUs while any requested creature comfort, such as enough storage to make even the longest distance. Right, so this particular vessel is dedicated for longer distance travel, and may prove to be something that you want to take with you if you're alone. So if you're a sole pilot, whilst also maintaining your capabilities for survival. So this one is 2 SCU, so only 2 little boxes, but now you've got a much bigger internal space, and you've even got a couple of weapon racks, and it's a much more spacious environment. Definitely something that you want to sort of live into. There's like a little chair there and everything else. So yeah, so basically this is the dedicated sort of, I'm not just going to be doing my jobs around Stanton. I'm actually going to be going from sector to sector, and I'm going to be exploring these realms, which I think is actually kind of cool. There's a little internal storage thing over here as well as the shit shower is now on the opposite side. I do like this. I like this interior a little bit more than the actual interior of the bog standard one. Not such a big fan of the fact that we lose 2 SCUs worth of storage cargo, but at the same time, I think this is a pretty solid. Yeah, this is a pretty solid thing, because you could probably get yourself like a 2, depending on what kind of role you want to have, you could get like a 2 SCU storage box, thump it in this little section, and probably or live off it for a while. You know, you get yourself like a shitload of food, some supplies, additional weapons, suits for like the different environments you're in. You could survive in a Drake Cutter Rambler for quite some time. Hell, that almost sounds like a challenge. So yeah, no, this thing, definitely a good choice. Definitely a good choice if you're wanting to explore and survive. But still, not bad. Not bad. I like this thing. It's a pretty cool concept. The color, not so much. Oh, you've got the cool spoilers at your back. Never mind. I like this ship. It's fine. Everything that's wrong with it is gone. You've got spoilers. I don't really know why they attached these, I'll be honest with you. Like, the bog standard one looks just the way oh, actually, I don't know. Yes, that's the problem. Your cutter doesn't have a spoiler. It's the problem nowadays. You gotta have spoilers. As we move down the list, we are presented with one hell of a beautiful ship. This is the Buccaneer. Yes, this ship is basically, if I had to describe this vessel, it's pretty much going to be the most Orky-like ship in Star Citizen. Now, if you've not played Warhammer 40,000, basically, this ship is the personification of Dakar and speed. You know, red makes you go faster, and never enough Dakar. We have 2 size 1s on the extra wing tips, 2 size 3 fixed at the top, and a size 4 on the top Revenant Gatling. On this very tiny frame. Oh, let's not forget, of course, the cross-section of missiles. 2 size 2, and then the 2 missiles with the clustered charges on the front. Yeah, this thing is designed just to say, fuck you, I want you to die. And unfortunately, with the words of, don't shoot at me though, because I will die instantly. Because this particular ship is not very armored, as you can see. But the main benefit of this ship is their speed. It is literally the speed. It's a very simple design, but I do like it a lot. In fact, I owned this ship for quite some time, and I very much liked the concept of it. And depending on how things go, it may be a ship that I own in the future again, because it is such a good ship, though I don't think I'll have it with real money, but definitely within game. But as you can see, the view is not super restrictive. Obviously, you've got the struts to have to deal with. And you can also feel just how fucking flimsy this thing is. You know, like, what makes this thing live is its shields. And now that the Revenant has actually got itself some pretty good... Actually, to be fair, the fucking ship now looks a lot better armored in stock configuration than before. But now this particular ship is said... not designed for, it's designed basically for straight line speeds and heavy combat. Now, I will be honest with you, I've not flown this thing since the master mode has been implemented. I definitely feel like I probably should, because that would be something that would be very beneficial. But at the same time, I think that'll be a goal to reach for at some point, because obviously this thing is brilliant. I do love it. It's aesthetically wise, it was one of the first dedicated fighters that Drake Interplanetary made that I thought sort of fell in love with. And to be fair, I think this is the only dedicated fighters so far. All of the other stuff is just either transport cargo or anything else. It's not really... This is the first, I think, the first and only dedicated fighter platform that it has, but it does the job really well, and it's certainly a pain in the ass to deal with if you're having to take on stuff like Ninetales or anything, because this is one of the more common ships you'll have to face off against, and it's definitely something to deal with, especially when it comes to the firepower side. I mean, that size 4 is an absolute bitch, to say the least. But no, very good fighter, and for the price, it's pretty reasonable. I mean, 110. I know, technically speaking, it's the same price as the Cutlass Black, which answers many, many questions. But at the same time, if you're upgrading from another ship that you think, you know what, I'm tired of using the Gladius, I want something a little bit more, there you go. Moving on from the Buccaneer, we are presented with a unique ship that has yet to really fulfill any niches, or at least in gameplay terms, but I do hope we'll see its time come soon. This is the Drake Herald. Again, fairly orky in design, not much on the gun frontier, mind you, but very much so in their speed frontier. I mean, look at the size of those engines, which, to be fair, I think these engines are perhaps mounted on the Kraken themselves, which we'll talk about later on. But still, this particular ship is designed for one purpose and one purpose only, getting the data. It's a data vessel, so you need to try and get yourself out of the... Yeah, it's got an armored computer core, it's EMP protection, and data support. It is an Inforunner, which if we hop into the vessel, I think it's got a bit of a spruce up since then, because it looks a lot better internally now. But as you can see, this particular ship is very simple. There's nothing to... You got a bed, you've got some... It's a very cramped vessel as well. It's got its own little toiletries, it's got its own little thing, but it's designed for computer technology. There's like a little EMP device over there as well. Why is it EMP? It's a little... It's a doodad that allows you to withdraw the data cores once they are there. But no, this is the kind of ship that you'll be sitting in, minding your own business, and when you get a contract to pick up data, this thing will be... That looks like the Death Star. It's not the Death Star, but I found it hilarious. But no, so this particular thing is what you would have when you all of a sudden you get a message from someone saying, yo, we need you to come transport this data. We've got intelligence for the next sector over, and we need you to get there fast. Boom. That's what this thing is designed for. It's all about the straight line speeds. It doesn't need, it needs to try and get the hell out of Dodge. And with all of the things that are going on in the verse at that point, it would very much be a good idea for you to use those things. In terms of weapons, it doesn't really have a huge amount of stuff. I mean, it's got 2 size 1 Badgers and a size 1 Mantis at the front. Again, size 2 Mantis at the front. Again, it's really not got much in terms of defense. It's got a few Task Force 1 missiles, I think. What, 8? Yeah, 8 Task Force 1 missiles, which are mounted inside the actual engine spooling points. If you look there in the center of your screen, to the left bit there you go. So, again, this particular ship design is nothing, it doesn't really have a purpose at the moment. But as Star Citizen gets further development and additional things down the line, we will start to see the data job role becoming a lot more significant, and once you can start having contracts and missions to go into a zone to pick up some data, this thing will be an absolute chad. And to a degree, it still has some protection from the EMP. So I think good-looking ship. I look forward to seeing what it can do. I know this is like the 3rd or 4th year in a row, or 5th year in a row at this point, where we're talking about this thing will have a use. But don't worry, I have faith you will have a use, my dearie. Just hang on in there. As we make our way almost to the end of the line, we're presented with a ship that, while it may not be as famous as the Drake Cutlass Black, or as potentially large in scale as the Caterpillar or the Corsair, or have as much firepower as the Buccaneer, this ship has its own unique version of variety to it, and is personally one of my favorite ships in the Drake Interplanetary lineup. This is the Drake Interplanetary Vulture. She is the first introductionary ship to make salvaging possible. Now, technically speaking, yes, the Reclaimer was technically the first salvaging ship in Star Citizen, but this was the first ship to really be dedicated towards it that was made when the mechanic was released. Again, I know the Reclaimer was in the game and the intended mechanic and whatever, but this was the ship, in my opinion, that really started off the salvaging mechanic in my eye, because this was the ship that they introduced the salvaging mechanic to, and also acts as a really good training ground for anyone wanting to get into salvaging. She has 13 SCUs worth of cargo, technically 12, but you can always squeeze an extra one in. And if you know what you're doing, you can actually squeeze the boxes all along this line here as well, making it a lot more viable for that thing. She also has the ability to craft certain elements as well. So depending on what kind of options or materials you have inside, let me just do this right. Boom. There we go. Oh, boom. There we go. So you can actually have the ability to craft and make new mechanics and or items within the ship itself, which I think is a really cool thing. And I very much look forward to seeing what the future may hold in terms of crafting and everything else, which I think, yes, please. So again, this particular ship is designed for one purpose: to go along in the end of battlefields and gloriously loot the remaining elements of the basically, you go around looting ships and salvaging them and carving them up and putting them into materials, which upon then you sell and then earn a profit on. But in the future, what I personally love about this concept is that, of course, when you're scrooping around the verse, you may find that resources could be utilized as well. In terms of view as well, she's actually got a very good view, which if we hop into the seat, you'll be able to see. There you go. So, if we hop and get the power on, and then get the I was trying to simulate this thing and it won't turn the power on, you motherfucker. Why you no do this game? I was gonna do a Drake Interplanetary thump and it would work, but you ruined my fun. God damn you, game. I was doing so well and then you didn't work, bastard. That or the ships having a whole replication layer thing. Anyway, well, basically, this is the Showroom Edition. I'm going to keep reiterating that. Showroom Editions are not a good way to get a view on the ship. It's only through my personal experience that I could say about stuff like that. But yes, if you're wanting to, I definitely would recommend any new player to Star Citizen to at least give this ship a go. It's well worth your time, and I think personally it is a great opportunity for someone who's new to Star Citizen to make money both legally and technically illegally without really risking themselves too much, because again, it's a salvage vessel. So how this would basically work is you as a pilot go into those things, you then open up, you then basically when you go into the salvage mode, not too dissimilar to mining, you then are presented with these particular salvage lasers, which will come up and begin to either scrape the hull, which then, once you've scraped off enough of the hull, there's a couple of different mining heads or salvage heads that allow you to either scrape more over a larger area or more concentrated in smaller forms. And it also has a tractor beam module attachment as well. So if you've got a bit of armor that, a bit of the ship that you've hit, and you've knocked into it whilst you're trying to scroop it, you instead basically grab the tractor beam and you can then continue, move it into a safe spot, continue your scroopage, and then eventually be able to move on, which is wonderful. Then, once you've used these devices, you then go and you then switch the mode from scrooping to fracturing. And once you've fractured the ship in question, depending on the size as well. Unfortunately, there are certain ships that you have to use a larger fracture device to get to, such as the Reclaimer. But with this particular ship, most small combat vessels or most most vessels are capable of being fractured, and then basically you suck up all the little tiny pieces, which, again, not a huge cargo carrying capacity, only about 12 to 13 SCUs, which gives you about a grand total of 24 SCUs once you unload everything into the bay and then put it in subsequent locations. As the cargo update finally becomes a lot more viable, you could potentially see in the future, especially once you get your own dedicated landing zone, you might find that as you're scrooping around the sectors of Microtech, Lorville, Area 18, that sort of thing, you take off from your dedicated zone, you fly around, you do all your scrooping, you come back, you unload in your personal hangar, and then you continue on towards that thing. Then you could sell all of that scroop at your nearest landing zone if, for example, you want to go onto a station that you can't land the reclaimer on, or if you want to land something else. So the potential for you to earn a shit ton of money using this particular ship, major win. And I'm very, very keen on seeing this ship's earning potential get maxed out, because I think that would be really, really cool. Just give us a fucking cargo update, god damn it. Oh, hello. As we now round up this particular circuit with the last ship on the lineup, of course this is by no stretch of the imagination the lesser of any ship. This is the Drake Corsair, Drake Interplanetary's answer to the Carrack. And while it doesn't match the Carrack in certain things like functionality or longevity, it certainly does match up in terms of firepower and, to a certain extent, accessibility for players in Star Citizen. So what makes this ship so famous or so powerful is that it's got quite a large amount of armaments. As you can see, it's got a number of size 5 guns at the front, which obviously you can customize to either be energy or ballistic. It's got 2 turrets with size 3 Badger or Panther repeaters on, which again, pretty good. And considering the fact that they are, and despite the fact that they're manned, you can actually point all of these guns towards the target and melt anything inside, which is ridiculous. You've also got a pilot and a co-pilot seats here, which unfortunately the co-pilot cannot fly the ship, which is a bit of a shame because I think that would be fucking amazing. But instead, the co-pilot has the ability to, well, either access some of the missiles or access certain elements towards things, or it can just allow the player to who is ever flying it to not, die. But eventually, I'm sure functionality will be added on to that. But no, as you can see, the ship does have quite a large amount of, okay, apparently everyone's floating. But the ship does have quite a large amount of armaments, which are only accessible, just to note anyone who wants to get this thing, if both wings are down. Because you can actually fly this ship without having to have its wings down. You can actually fly it upwards as well, which is a rather wonderful thing. Again, depending on your particular preference. But as mentioned, this particular ship is classified as an expedition ship. And as you can definitely tell, because you've got a rather large cargo bay. You can put some vehicles inside, you can put some storage inside. You can basically set this vehicle up to go on a rather long field trip. Now, I say field trips intentionally here because, well, when you go into the ship, you can see it's not very big in comparison to such vessels as the Carrack. There's no drone facilities here. This particular section has got its own little suit bay with its own docking collar, but nothing too fancy. Nothing too, obviously, it's a Drake Interplanetary. But, there's access to cargo grids, access to components here. It's a relatively small, but, luxurious is not exactly a space, I would say, but it does give you the job, it's functional. It does what it needs to do. You've got dedicated rooms for each of the crew inside. You've got a mess hall, very simple utilities. There's the usual toilet. Then if we head over to here, we have another thing here. Then we go towards the front section. There's the 2 turrets, which access towards the side. And then finally we have the captain's room with his own locker and everything else, which is good. And here is the co-pilot seat, which, as you may see, if we can hop into the co-pilot's room here, we don't get to go up into here, but instead it takes us to a separate zone here. Which, again, unfortunately, it looks like you can't fly the ship at this point, which is a bit of a shame. But if you are in this ship and you wanted to avoid getting shot at internally, this is a good place for it. Though, to be fair, once you can potentially fly this ship, I definitely feel this is very useful for parking. Definitely useful for parking. But if you're not the co-pilot, we'll just wind our way back up to the top here. You get this as a view. And I personally really like this cockpit. One of the things I like about Drake Interplanetary cockpits, they've got this kind of Imperium of Man vibe to you, and it also has a little fan, which is wonderful, because you know how warm it can get in a Drake Interplanetary ship, even though I'm wearing a spacesuit. Still, really good views. You've got some good, you have some good views around you. You've got a decent amount of space. It passes the MFD test, so you don't have to look. You don't have to specifically use your camera to look down or anything else like that. It does the job it needs to do, and it's a fairly maneuverable ship. I will add on to though that I have not flown this ship since the zone has changed. Oh, sorry, zone. There's another. Oh god. There we go. It's also got this another MFD just laying on the ground there, but oh well. So no, I have not flown this since the master modes have been introduced, but at the same time, this thing does have the potential to do quite a lot of damage in the right hands. Here's another really cool thing, though. It's one of my favorite things of the ship, which is this particular thing, because you can actually access the roof of the ship, which is really cool. So you could be outside needing to access another ship, legally of course, and this thing will let you do that. You'll be able to run around the roof of the ship, and it also lets you go down to the ground, but this is my personal favorite feature of the Corsair, and I wish more ships had it, because that would be so cool. Like, you're just minding your own business on your ship, and you're like, oh shit, I need to go outside and fix the remote turret, so let's get my device out, buzz, 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 whilst that's going on. And you just look to your left, and there's a fucking planet there, or you see some other shit, and you're like, buzz, 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 buzz. Oh shit, there's a bloody other ship. Run inside the vessel! But no, it's a really, really cool design, and I very much look forward to seeing more of it in the future. Now, what was I talking about earlier when it comes to accessibility? Well, the Drake Interplanetary Corsair, due to its size and its relatively quick to access nature, means that if you're wanting to show off Star Citizen to your friends and you've got more than two, this is a really good opportunity for you to do some missions, some bounty hunting, maybe even do a minor expedition. And to be fair, once Pyro becomes a thing, holy fucking shit, this particular vehicle, this vessel, in my opinion, will do very well to promote flying across the verse without having to spend forever preparing, because the Carrack is one of those ships that you need to prepare. You've got to load it with a cargo vehicle, You've got to spend time making sure the Pisces on the top is there. You've got to put some stuff in the armory and everything else. And, in the future, when the cargo pods and everything else become detachable, you'll want to stock those up so you can sort of set up yourself going. It's the kind of ship that once prep work's done, you can have fun. Whereas with this ship, really much all you have to do, drive an Ursa medevac into it, maybe get a couple of bits of ammunition, put it in the locker, boom, you're all good to go. And this thing can pack a punch as well, which, again, the Corsair, the Carrack doesn't. So, no, I like the Corsair, and I look forward to seeing its intended use when Pyro comes out. Because, the Pyro is going to make this ship. I think that's what, I'm going to say it now. Pyro is what is going to make this ship the ship for 4.0. This is Pyro. So, as we make our way down towards the holodeck, we can see one of these wonderful trailers for the Corsair, so good timing on that one, and we get to go towards what's known as the display hall, which is displaying some new things coming to Drake Interplanetary. This is, of course, going to be, the Kraken. I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't have anything else to have on display, but to be fair, it is the Kraken. This particular ship has been well known, and I've shown this thing quite a bit, but for all those who've not seen this before, this is the largest ship in the Drake Interplanetary fleet, announced in 2018, and has been in development for quite some time, but bit by bit, we're starting to see this ship becoming the dream of many. It's basically a carrier that has the ability to carry up to, I think multiple vessels. I'm not going to go specific here because players are going to try and cram even more into it. But as you can see, there is a list of dedicated pads over along here alongside the internal storage. The other benefit of the Kraken is that there's also what's known as the Kraken Privateer, which is basically, it replaces the Dragonfly hangar and a number of other little sections here with its own little marketplace location, both for private and public affairs, that allow players, or will allow players, the ability to not only stock their ship full of stuff and potentially earn a profit from it, but also be a a resting spot for any weary traveller out there who can't quite make it to an R&R station. In terms of what the viability of this ship will be, we don't know. But what I can say is that there are many, many, many people who are craving this particular ship. And in fact, a couple of my friends have owned them in their time. But still, this thing is definitely a... This particular ship, when this thing does finally come into Star Citizen, it's going to change. It's going to set ripples throughout the verses. Because this ship represents a clan. If you are in Star Citizen and you're wanting to see what life would be like under like this thing, once this comes in, will be the ship. You know, it will be the ship that many players will be operating on, will be operating around, will be utilizing and everything. And as much as there will probably be other larger vessels out there with their own unique things, this will be the first, and it will be the most glorious, which I'm not going to lie, I am very keen, very, very keen to see more of in the future. Hey there, a little bit of an extra tidbit for this particular one. So this is one of the newer ships that has just been announced in Drake DefenseCon, and in my opinion, is now my new favorite ship. And I really wanted to talk about this ship because I am in love. It is unfortunately a case of instant love and instant crying for my wallet, but it is what I want in a cargo ship, and so what exactly is this ship? This is the Drake Ironclad. It's such a great name. And basically, the purpose of this ship is to bridge the gap in terms of cargo hauling from the C2 Hercules to ships like the Hull C and larger variants. The other benefit, supposedly, is that with this ship being destroyed, yes, this ship being developed and deployed, will potentially increase, as going by the words of CIG, will speed up the progress of the Kraken, which, fair enough. I mean, sure. Again, like, with what's going on at the moment, it is a bloody huge hauler ship, and I am very keen on seeing this ship. I personally am kind of hoping we can see this in, CIG. But no, it's a concept ship, so we're probably not going to see this till 25. But still, I am very, very keen. So what exactly is the main pluses of this feature? Well, apart from the fact that it has a bloody massive 1,536 SCU's worth of cargo, this vessel has a couple of really freaking cool features. First of all, it's got its own secure freight storage at the front of the ship, meaning that if there's any specific cargo that you're really wanting to protect, or if you want to make a brig, you can do so. It also has its own little vehicle bay inside the ship, so if you have yourself like a couple of Drake Mules or anything else like that, it allows you to basically park them in without having them interfere with any other cargo. The other benefit is that this particular cargo bay actually opens out. The roof opens up, and you can move cargo in and out of the bay, which I think is absolutely incredible. And like when I was seeing the ship, at first I was thinking, okay, this is pretty interesting. It's a cargo ship. Okay, that's pretty cool. And I was thinking to myself, when I was watching the video, I was like, it's a bit of a shame that the only way you can get into it is just that underside roof thing, that's underside cargo bay. Because, it's great, don't get me wrong, but it's just going to be a bit of a faff. And then they were like, and yeah, you can also open up the roof. And I was like, just that whole sequence from freaking Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, that guy just staring, going, that was me. And I was like, I need this. So yeah, the ship was needed, and it's very, very cool. I'm very, very keen on this particular vessel. So the other really cool feature about this ship is that, technically speaking, it's been a thing in the game, or supposed to have been a thing in the game for a while, but it is supposedly coming in through now, which is that the command module is now going to be detachable, or at least it will be detachable when this ship comes out. And better still, the same feature that's, again, supposed to be in the game for a while, will also be available to the Caterpillar, which I think is a really cool feature. I mean, sure, it's not designed as a do it whenever you want because it's fun. It's meant to do that because normally the rest of the ship is about to go into a bloody nightmare and you're like, fuck this for a packet of chips. But still, it is extremely cool to be able to do that. So I think that's a benefit for that. But anyway, so the other part of which makes this ship really cool is that it's not without teeth. I mean, as you can see from the stats one that I put back up now, you've got a number of turrets, one of them being size 5, a couple of size 3s, and there's a couple of interior remote size 2s with another size 3. You've got some tractor beams. You've got 4 size 5... You've got freaking size 4 missiles. Like, I think 6 size 4 missiles. 8 size 4 missiles. My brain is getting really stupid now. But the point is, it is mental how much defenses this thing has. And this is the civilian version. Because, yes, that's right, the civilian version. Because, of course, CIG needs a military version, which has so much more. And, oh my giddy aunt, it is glorious. So, in comparison to the other version... The military version is a little bit different, only slightly less SCUs, being the 1152 SCUs worth of cargo. But the thing is, instead of carrying all this cargo, it instead has a larger front ramp access to be able to transport tanks and the varying bits of equipment. And rather than having a docking or a vehicle hangar for your ground transport vehicles, you actually have a service area for armored vehicles, so you can actually fix and repair all them, or even service them and get them ready to go whilst you're on the ground. Now, what I love about this particular ship is the fact, and this is all hypothesizing here, but this is the shit that my brain goes nuts on when playing Star Citizen, is think about the possibilities of what this thing can do. You have a ship that not only in its civilian form has an retractable cargo bay, which means you can operate both in and out of Atmo, space or no space, all of that jazz. You have the ability to take off and land in many locations, giving you that extra viability to resupply bases with a decent amount of cargo, the ability to set up shop in the location, because obviously cargo is just boxes and shit, so if you wanted to, you could set this up as a kind of faux marketplace. You could also set it up as an FOB, so you could set up land setup, then move on from that. You have a command bridge, which obviously initially is designed just to allow the tractor beams to be used, but obviously you can also use it as a commanding point. You've then got your command module, which then could take off and, fucking do whatever. So it gives you the ability to establish a presence on a planet without really committing too much. For the military version, you have the ability to transport a variety of armored military vehicles. For example, you could use this for tanks and equipment, or you could use it for troop transport. So you could have a bunch of Spartans in there, you could have a bunch of Ursas, you could have medevacs, you could have the ability to fix those particular vehicles, you could have all the ability to defend. You could basically use the turrets to help defend the position, so if you're in a bit of a hot zone, you've got the ability to defend yourself, sort of. I wouldn't exactly say this should be on the front lines, but, if the shit hits the fan, you've still got a size 5 turret and a bunch of other turrets as well, so it's not quite as bad as that. And then, of course, you have the ability to utilize the ship as a kind of... Well, again, it's a pretty... You could also use it for logistically supplying your fleets, because, Drake Interplanetary, while they are known for being the less salubrious of people, they still are a cargo hauling group. So this would, in fact, be one of the better kind of ships to work around. So I am freaking losing my head over just how much this ship looks amazing. And I'm honestly really hopeful to see more of this ship as it comes through. I'm really hoping they sort of speed this particular one up, because I really, really want this ship. It looks amazing, and I am very keen to see what else the CIG can come up with when it comes to that. And then, of course, the benefit of that is that once this ship is in fact released, you actually then get the benefit of the Kraken having more development as well. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts, because it's a bonus for us for one thing, and then it's a bonus for everyone else as well. So I am very keen on this ship. And I look very much forward to seeing this come through and seeing it in game and having fun with it and doing cargo hauling and all of that other jazz, because that is the kind of sad git that I am. I mean, you should know by now my particular preference in this game is a logi-based, but yeah, this just kind of confirms it. I completely forgot to talk about this thing, which, despite being being a prominent section in the middle, I don't actually feel like, personally speaking, it really represents much. This is the Drake Interplanetary Dragonfly. It's basically a floating scooter with 2 size 1 scatterguns and a room for 2 and a couple of bits of storage. It's not exactly a big flashy thing. It's basically a skimmer bike, which is user friendly, lets the player, whoever wants to fly it, do pretty well before, like, obviously exploding if they go into the ground. But again, it's a pretty user friendly bike, and at the time of the recording, there isn't really much you can do with it aside of racing and personal interest, but in the future, maybe these particular vehicles could potentially have some major use once things like missile launchers and other elements in Star Citizen prevent players from just landing near the zones that they need to get to. But either way, I'd say it's an alright vehicle. I'm not a big fan of skimmer bikes. I'm more of a wheels on the ground kind of person. But at the same time, I can respect what people will say. I can respect if someone likes this thing. And I have seen them used in org events and everything else like that. But not recently. Not recently. But that's just my experience. If you do like this thing, do let me know in the comment section down below. And there you have it. Drake Interplanetary. Rather controversial in terms of lore, but in my opinion, a really good, reliable source of fun, depending on what kind of the side of the lore you stand on. And as more and more features get upgraded and implemented into Star Citizen, we start seeing varieties of different ships, the economy changing, cargo hauling, all of that jazz. We get to see more awesome features coming out of Drake Interplanetary, especially with ships like the Ironclad becoming a thing. Oh boy, I want that thing so bad. Anyway, so, on that rather terrifying note, Drake Interplanetary, or Drake Defense Con, you have been a fun event, and I look forward to seeing more of your kind of stuff in the future. But unfortunately, this also kind of drags to the end Invictus launch week, which is a bit of a shame, to say the least. I hope you guys have enjoyed your time watching this little series. We do still need to do the Idris, which I do intend on recording and uploading before the event ends. We've just been having some major issues with my recording software, and some of the episodes that I thought I could record have unfortunately crashed out because the fucking software has decided to not work. Yeah! So anyway, I will do my best to get the footage recorded and uploaded, and hopefully very soon we'll start to see more awesome things coming out of Star Citizen. One of these things being the shirt. Let me just... yeah, I'm going to buy the shirt. Come on. Yes. And I will also buy my Drake Interplanetary hat, because fuck off! 1,250 for a fucking shirt! For a hat! Jesus Christ. Okay, that's expensive. Anyway, I will catch you guys in the next one. I'll see if there's anything special happening in the hall. It might just be the end of the show, to be brutally honest. We've still got quite a lot going on in this game. So if you are new to Star Citizen, or this is the first video you've been watching, thank you very much for watching till the end. But if you want to try out Star Citizen, go to the description down below. You should be able to see a link to not only Star Citizen's website, but also a link and also a referral code. So if you want to if you do sign up to the game and you get yourself a game package, use that referral code, and you'll be able to get additional money into your account, which will be pretty awesome. Hello? Someone has failed to park properly. And is that a Cutlass Black or is that a Drake? No, that's a Caterpillar. Jesus Christ. No, to be fair, that's the duplication glitch, but I just kind of like the concept that someone didn't know how to park a Caterpillar. That is brilliant. Anyway, thank you once again for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed your time, and I will see you in the next one. This is Mr. Jaeger signing out. Have a good one, guys.